Knowing what to believe. Because there has been so much propaganda, and there's no other word really for it, that is basically at war with nonfiction, fact-based reporting. It's even more hard for journalists to get the truth out, and you can see that there are coordinated attempts at disinformation campaigns, but these techniques, they go back for decades. Decades ago, Soviet propaganda machines would plant fake stories in obscure English language papers in India. And then they would get picked up, and over 2 or 3 years they might end up, in the words of a famous broadcaster in America, things that aren't true. Electronic media has just made this process faster and more virulent and more widespread globally. So same techniques we've seen by other state actors are really troubling. I think one of the keys is that we need to engage our audiences while stories are still being developed, so that they're aware of what our newsroom mission is and what we're focused on. There's evidence that shows that when you do this, that by the time you go to air or you go to print or you go to online or you push to mobile, there's already a built-in audience, and they have been part of or been involved with this issue. Newsrooms are really hesitant to do that. Journalists are very protective of their sources of everything, and it's very competitive, and this works against us because we put all this energy into making a great report, and then we think we're done, and that's only at the time maybe the audience that we could get starts to even know about it. If we push this back in time, this development process, and engage with our audiences, so newsrooms have seen success with this, so there's really no data that shows that this isn't a good idea, so I say do it. That's always going to be tough because journalists are the ones who have the access to hold powerful people to account and ask tough questions, like a reporter did yesterday to the Prime Minister of Canada and said, hey, you broke 2 promises, electoral reform and another important social issue. What do you say to it? I mean, who else has the power and access to do that? It's journalists. But sometimes that perception seems, in the public's eyes, it can be spun by people who want to take that off message as, oh, they're being aggressive, they're just negative. And I don't know what the answer is, but we do need to do a better job of telling our own story. So one of the long-term approaches is something that you see with Reporterfabrik project, and that is bringing it to school-age children. The ability to know what journalism is, how it impacts their daily lives, how it impacts their future, how it works, so demystifying it, and then getting them involved with the practices of nonfiction storytelling. This is like a long-term project, but I think you will be able to measure the impact of that over time if the project continues.